From Tampa, Florida, the nation's gizzard. It's the magnificent Lassiter Show, starring the magnificent Lassiter. Featuring the nimble fingers of Michael Stereo at the control board, the second most respected newsman, Don Richards, and the world's most dangerous traffic reporter, Gary McHenry. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lassiter.
Oh, thank you very much. 7.5 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock, a Thursday, May 25th, 1989. Where do I begin? It all started yesterday, about 25 hours ago, actually about 24 and a half hours ago. Shortly before I went on the air yesterday, I returned a call that had been placed to me the day before. A gentleman that I know in Miami. I used to work in radio with him in Miami, but he really works for the state. He's one of these state bureau managers, and they have a big convention coming up, seminar, call it whatever you will, in Gainesville in the middle of next month. I think it runs the 13th through the 16th. And he asked me to appear and give a speech. And I've never done anything quite like that before. I've been on panels and that kind of thing, but I've never delivered a half-hour, oh my God, a half-hour speech. And the purpose of the speech, the purpose of the conference or seminar or whatever it may be, is that they want to know, state workers, state managers in particular, wanted to know how they are perceived by the media and by the populace, especially through the eyes of the media. So they have asked me, because I work very cheaply, mileage and lunch, to come up on the 16th, Friday the 16th, and deliver this half-hour speech on how the media perceives state workers. I owe this guy a lot of favors. He was very helpful back in the early days in Miami radio. Very helpful in terms of doing some things for me personally and listening to my grief when I was going through the divorce and then was out of work and all that kind of stuff. And so I said, oh, sure. So last night, Muffy and I are sitting at CDB's having a pizza. By the way, I don't think these people advertise with us, but I have become absolutely enthralled with CDB's downtown. It's not that the others I have any problem with. I've not been to them, but I just have to say that. Great place. Anyway, we're sitting there having a pizza last night, and I'm going, oh, Muffy, what am I going to do? I don't know. I have our speech. This is a silly topic. Oh, and I got to do it because, he's my friend, and I owe him a lot of favors. And she said, well, why don't you ask the audience? Why don't you do a show on it? And my God, I said, oh, the tears, they dried up, and suddenly there was a spring in my step and a song on my lips. And I said, Muffy, I never thought of that. This is deadly serious, by the way. This is not any attempt at humor. This is not trying to be a wise ass. But I think it's, first of all, rather encouraging that they want to know. And so I'm going to put it to you guys. What precisely is your perception? Now, I'm not looking for horror stories. As a matter of fact, I don't want horror stories. I went to state office 1954 and... No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who work for the government. What is your perception? How do you view them? Why? And I'm as serious as I can possibly be. If you guys play along, I think it'd be an interesting show. It sure as hell is going to help me with my speech. I want you to know the tape is rolling. And besides, who knows, in a little way. Oh, God, this is just it might do some good. So let me give you the telephone numbers. I am deadly serious. Just how do you perceive people that work for the state? Not a red balloon, or it might be an interesting afternoon. We'll find out. Dermoplast. The hour, 3 o'clock. Okay, either one of two things has happened. Either this is really going over like a lead balloon, or perchance a group of awful Arab terrorists have taken over General Nortner's headquarters and have disconnected all of the phone lines leading into this building. Let me see if I can't set an example here, give you an idea as to what I'm talking about. A couple of weeks ago, we took a long weekend and we went up to Wakulla Springs. Wakulla Springs is a state park that was given to the state by Mr. Ball. Mr. Ball was the guy that looked after the DuPont interests in the state of Florida. He had built a 27-room European-style hotel back in the 30s. These are very, very good. And what's really bad here is that I'm going to take this out on Muffy. You see, I'm going to go home tonight, and I'm going to punish Muffy. I'll probably give her more chores to do tomorrow or something like that. And you people don't even care. Tampa, you're on there at 970 WF. Unbelievable. Let's try that Tampa line. You're on there at 970 WFLA.
I'm not going to let you get away with that cute little ethnic slur against Arab Americans that you made there, referring to them as Arab terrorists. Yeah, big joke, isn't it? You know, you're such a
Yeah, it is a big joke.
Yeah, you're such a hypocrite.
Yeah.
The man who uses anti-Semitic anytime anybody even begins to criticize the country of Israel, you're quick to jump on him.
I doubt it very much, sir. I'm one of the people that criticizes the country of Israel.
Well, then how is it that you can call people anti-Semites all the time, but
when they
you
make anti-Semitic remarks? That's
Well, what was that little remark that you made? Arab is a very deeply offensive term.
Oh.
Why don't you apologize for it?
I apologize
You're not big enough.
to you?
No, don't apologize to me. Apologize to the Arab Americans out there.
I didn't make any slur against Arab Americans.
Arab is an ethnic slur.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Possibly. In context, I suppose it could be, sir.
In the context that you use
No,
it
in the context of a slur, it would be an ethnic slur. Did you have anything you want to add to the program?
Not really. No, I just
want to be an asshole like you are anyway. West Shore, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
State employees, I think, in Florida are honest and conscientious and do their job in the main pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived in other states, and I think Florida employees take more pride, mainly because they're better paying jobs. The Florida salary schedule is so low, once you get a state job, you want to hang on to it and keep it. I also think that the state employees suffer because of the buffoons we have serving in the state legislature and sometimes in the governorship. For instance, this DOT snafu that's resulting in, $40 million override, and they're accusing the governor now and the transportation secretary is accusing states of not supplying them the best data. And I do believe...
What does that have to do with Florida state employees that we all come in contact with every day? And your
What do you mean what it has to do with them? The state road department or Department of Transportation are state employees, and they're getting smirched right now by a Secretary of Transportation and a governor who apparently were in such a zeal to make PR, good PR, that they overestimated the budget or overlooked it, and there could be thousands of people losing their jobs in the business next couple of years, and we're suffering from lack of roads. Meanwhile, the public is going to blame the state employees that work at the Department of Transportation. My point being that Florida state employees, I think, are good people. They're honest people in the main, and they do a good job.
Excuse me.
But we have such a poor state legislature.
Excuse me.
Hello?
I don't really think that anybody is going to be driving down the street and see a couple of guys with shovels digging a hole next to a DOT dump truck and blame them for the problems with the state's highways.
Well, not the worker bees. We're talking about the planners in the state DOT. And your subject today, I thought, was how does the public perceive state employees? Is that right?
Right, but we're not talking about Governor Bob.
Well, I'm saying
Governor
that
Bob is not really perceived as a state employee.
Are perceived as good.
Is there something wrong with your phone?
And do their job well.
Excuse me, is there something wrong with your phone?
Hello. Is this better? Hello?
Thanks for your call. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Good afternoon, Bob.
Good afternoon.
How do I perceive the state employees? For the most part, I think they're very good. I think their major fault is...
So it's news director. A guy who, in essence, sits there and reads the St. Petersburg Times, clips things out, and hands them to people and says, go get some film footage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you think we can attract the best administrators paying less money than you get paid to read the St. Petersburg Times and clip out articles?
Okay. $100,000 is a very large sum of money, okay? Definitely way above what the average person works. 2, 3, 4, 5 times what the average individual makes.
On the air at 970 WFLA. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Bob?
Yeah, that's right.
I can barely hear you. Listen, I'm a state employee,
Uh-huh.
And I'm sitting at my desk right now, not doing much.
No.
Because we're kind of slow here.
Uh-huh.
I work for the Hillsborough County Health Department, which is a branch of the HRS, which is a state agency. I think the biggest problem that we have in getting quality people is paying them. I find...
Employees. Such is life. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello?
Hi, Tampa.
Yeah, Bob, let me zero in on one small discrepancy, perhaps, in the attitude. The problem is that we have, in many cases, excellent staff employees. The problem is that they return. I know.
No, I'm talking about the same basic concept. They're the city council's an elected office. They're politicians. I'm talking about people that type letters and people that take your driver's license application.
Bob, I'm talking about the people who do the actual work.
Well, sir, they are not state employees. They're politicians who sit on the city council.
Focus in on this, Bob. Your thorough thing
is... focus in on this, sir. Is that good, bad, or indifferent? Wanting those things.
Is it good, bad, or indifferent?
Determining what punishment I should give to my wife, my beloved wife, who has always come up with great program ideas before, for coming up with this one. And I will just spend 1/2 hour telling these state employees in Tallahassee or Gainesville, I think it is Gainesville. God, I hope it's Gainesville. Oh, my God. I hope I didn't get those two cities mixed up, because one's a hell of a lot closer than the other one. Well, anyway, I shall just spend the 1/2 hour I have to speak with them, telling them that you guys don't really have any perception. Such is life. Win some, lose some. Yes, Muffin will be punished for this one. She will be given a lot of extra chores, and perhaps you would call and suggest some chores that we may give the Muffin for coming up with this one last night, sitting there having the pizza. Or something else. Not really sure. I thought it was going to work. I didn't really think, there'd be screaming and shouting and things of that nature, but I really thought that it would work. I thought it was, for an occasional, every now and then type of show that, there would have been something. And, of course, tradition teaches us that if you can't make it play between 3 and 4, with a dreaded 4:45 lull, are you serious? You don't dare touch it in the 4 o'clock hour. So, hey, what the hell? 990-93. Of course, I could sit here and just really play the talk show host game. How do you really feel about it? Hey, at least we'll have 11 minutes of suspension, huh? Suspension? No, suspense. 11 minutes of suspense. Wondering what he will do between now and then. Decided. 12 minutes after the hour, 4 o'clock. Welcome back. Hour number 2. It is a Thursday. I believe it's May 25th, 1989. I don't really want to go through the story again, but I'm not going to go through the whole story. We'll just go through half of the story. If you weren't here in the last hour and you don't know why, I want to know. Who cares? Hey, live with it. A lot of people have to go through life not understanding everything. But I thought that... I didn't think it was going to be a blockbuster show. I mean, I didn't really think it was, going to help the ratings all that much, but I thought that there would be response. You see, I need approximately 10 calls in the first hour, about 6 in the second, and 4 in the third. So total 20 people, I thought, for sure. Absolutely, for sure, we could get, with a little bit of screening, we could get 20 people on who had some concept as to what I was talking about. And instead we got some guy on that wanted me to apologize to all Arab Americans for a racial slur. And somebody that was having some zoning problems with the city council. And all I wanted to know is, how do you guys look at, how do you view people that work for the state? We're not talking about people like, Governor Bob. I know technically Governor Bob's a state worker, but no, we're talking about the people that you come in contact with day in and day out, and I doubt very much that you come into a lot of contact with Governor Bob, unless you're a filthy rich person who just loves to give gobs and gobs and gobs of money to the Republican Party. Then probably Governor Bob sits on your front porch with you at night and spits tobacco juice. But I have no idea what that means, Michael, none whatsoever. It's kind of like, the nation's gizzard. It just sounded good. And it went over like a lead balloon. I mean, we had calls, 2-3 at a time, and most of them just totally misunderstood what I was asking for and why I was asking for it. And I'm not even going to tell you why I was asking. And you see, it was actually, the show was Muffy's idea. And so I toyed with the idea of, perhaps trying to turn this thing around and make it, somewhat of a lighthearted show and have people suggest various different punishments for Muffy for having come up with a show. But, damn it, Muffy doesn't deserve that. And she's giving me lots of good show ideas. And so then I thought about, just saying, well, open phones. But you guys want to talk about anything that's, really in the news. And so how do you feel about state workers? There's this new there's this new chick on dying. Oh, my God, dying for a couple hours a day on Shorty's station. And this poor woman sits there without any phone calls. Actually, I have 3, by the way. I'll get to you 3 people in a moment. I just, I get really bummed out when I only have 3 calls. But nonetheless, this poor woman sits there for a couple hours every day trying desperately to conceal the fact that she has no callers and just asks the same question over and over. Speaking of asking the same... Michael, have you seen this week's broadcasting? There's an ad in there. Have you seen this week's broadcasting? There's an ad in there for arginine. Unbelievable. Speaking of asking the same question over and over. And, oh, my God. Nortner's twinkling. Oh, anyway, where was I? So, I've never had to deal with that kind of radio. I've never had to deal with that kind of talk radio. And now I'm sitting here this afternoon thinking maybe it would be good penance for myself to cover the fact that you guys don't seem to be in the least bit interested in helping me with this thing that I've got to do. And just ask the same question over and over again. McDill, hi, McDill. You're on there at 970 WFLA.
Hey, you woke me up. My goodness, I just fell asleep, Robert. I got so bored listening to your monologue and the whole bit. But anyway, I think that if you've ever gone up to Tallahassee and walked into the federal building or the Capitol, and you walk in an office and you ask a question, and you usually get the same answer. Most of the time, nobody knows what the hell's going on up there. They know nothing whatsoever. They have no idea in the world what goes on in the next office from them.
Well, then how do you suppose things end up getting done?
Sir?
How do you suppose things end up getting done?
Boy, hey, I'll try to find that out for you. I don't know.
Well,
everybody has their own little. They have their own little bailiwick.
Sir, there is a road that leads from here to Tallahassee. Somebody had to build it. The road is mowed.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Somebody had.
Kind of, you're pro Tallahassee, pro government, right? Well, I assume you are because you have to go up and make that speech. You're trying to find out something nice to say about it.
Sir, I am neither pro nor con. Treasure Island, Treasure, you're on the air at 970.
Yeah.
WFLA.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
What happened? Oh, okay, I thought I was cut off here. I got some kind of noise. I had an experience with a state worker last week. It was to do with driver's license.
Yes.
And my perception is that they're hiring minorities, which I understand and agree with, but they're not hiring qualified ones, because I'll guarantee you the ones I dealt with weren't qualified to do what they were doing. I'm sure they were qualified for something, but they sure weren't qualified for that. And
Well, what do you suspect they might have been qualified for?
well, I don't think I'm qualified to say that, but I know they weren't qualified for what they were doing because they didn't know what they were doing. It
Well,
gets
if you're
more
not
back
qualified to say what they were qualified to be doing, then how do you know that they weren't qualified?
Well, because I've been there before and have dealt with people who were qualified to do it. Other than that, that's the only thing I can say.
Well, I've gone to the butcher shop a couple of times, sir, but I'm not qualified to cut up a cow.
Yeah. Well, that's my perception. For whatever it's worth, I just found that the people were not qualified, apparently, or trained. Maybe the word is trained. Maybe they were improperly trained, but they didn't seem to know what they were doing. And, that's just my perception. That's what you asked for, I guess. And that's the only experience I really have with state workers, so that's the only thing I can tell you.
But you don't seem to find the white state workers to be unqualified or poorly trained.
Yeah. One was white and one was black.
Okay. Thanks. 990-9352 in Hillsborough. Actually, all the Hillsborough lines are suddenly full. 461-9352 in Pinellas. 461-WFLA. Let me tell you about Woodridge. Woodridge is a community of 90 homes. Gary McHenry to...
What?
We'll discuss that at the Christmas party. Dangerous WFLA, Gary McHenry, traffic report. And...
Did you want me to come over tonight, Bob?
No, I won't be home.
Oh.
Going out to eat with a minister.
I was going to come over and watch you punish Muffy. Traffic right now along Park Boulevard, really not greatly affected earlier.
Absolutely astonishing now. The board is cram-packed full, including the practical joke line. Let's see what awaits us. New Port Richie. Hi there, New. You're on here at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, New.
Maybe I can help Muffy out. I worked for the state in another state for about 20 and a half years, and in that state you had to take a state exam before you were employed, and after 6 months you were rated, and then rated yearly. You were rated on work habits, work attitudes, and work quality and work quantity. And if you fell below a low...
Don't want people leave there. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA. Hi, Tampa.
Hi.
Hi.
Listen, the philosophy of the state of Florida state workers is don't make wage, like I've heard expressed before. Don't rock the boat. Now, you're talking about, you referred to that little example of a couple that couldn't even get a table because they weren't 6 or 8 or something. Compare that with the HRS worker who fails to remove a child from a home that they know is abusive, that they've been there before, and the child gets killed. Now, the man who expressed his idea about, well, it's, these people, they've got a job, and why should they get everybody worked up and so forth, because that way they're going to be looked at as maybe somebody that's taking initiative and doing something and getting out of line. It's a bad, bad situation we have in this state with regard to particularly HRS workers, and that's the field in which I became acquainted with because I got involved to some extent. Now, of course, I'm a senior citizen, and I went in more or less as a volunteer, but I couldn't take it. I mean, you would try to do something and to show the ignorance and the incompetency, and they would treat the aged people and the incompetence in which I was involved with, along with the children, it's just a stupid.
Why do you think they did that?
And no common sense.
Why do you think they did that? Why do you think they did that?
Because I believe, like you say, they are divested of common sense.
I didn't say that, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
Didn't
you
say
said
that at all.
No, I guess what you suggested that maybe that was it. I don't know, but anyhow, that's my feeling that they do not allow a person because, I think it's because of the higher echelon and so forth. They have certain policies, and they want to keep you right there. They don't want you going in and seeing where these horrible mistakes are being made. And I do mean they're horrible when you think about children and the aged. And they are being made. And, well, all you have to do is, I guess you see it in the papers all the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
4:30 the time. John Richards standing by at the... Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I was just listening to my records during the newscast. Let's see. What the hell? Maybe there's somebody driving through town. Let's since we're got this lead balloon here with us anyway this afternoon, let's goof on some people. Hi, welcome back. My name is Bob Lassiter, and of course this is the Bob Lassiter Show, where we discuss things with people in the community where it doesn't matter whether or not you and I agree, but that we have an exchange of ideas, and no one's here to holler at you. No, we're just here to talk with you, and we're talking this afternoon about how you view state workers. Riverview, hi River, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Bob, you're going to have to get back with your friend in Miami. There's some information that is lacking. Number one, there is, well, I would say hundreds of agencies in the state of Florida. And also, you're talking about mid-level management, and certainly all of these agencies aren't going to be sending their mid-level managers to this meeting. So if he is just the people that are going to be there from a certain organization, do you know?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay. Well, here, let me say this. First of all, the state of Florida is a unique state. You've already had...
Yes, that's true. It's nothing like North Dakota at all.
That's exactly right. You've already seen that. It's people from Iowa are going to be looking at state employees here, how they gauge these employees here from the people of Iowa. If people live in Wakulla County, which you mentioned, Wakulla County or any of these smaller counties in the north part of Florida, they're going to look at state employees and entirely different than the ones that live in South Florida or Central Florida or the East Coast and the West Coast, and I hope that you're aware of why I say this.
That's because the water is much better in Wakulla County.
Not necessarily. If you're in Wakulla...
yes, it is. I drank it last week.
Yes, and if you're in Wakulla County early in the morning and see the exodus of everybody, damn near everybody in Wakulla County headed for the capital, that's where they work as state employees, and 9 out of 10 of them that are state employees are state employees due to the fact that they have gone to their state representative or their state senator and have got their job through them. And they're entirely... They were looking
9 out of 10.
Well, I'm using that as an example. But
maybe you had an 8 out of 10.
All right, 8 out of 10. And the people here in Tampa...
Harry McHenry can really do that. That's why he is the world's most dangerous bronze traffic reporter. With the WFLA Dangerous Bronze Traffic Report.
Boy, you know where I am, Bob?
Probably outside of a bar somewhere, pretending you're up in the plains.
Way up here in Pasco County, risking life and limb to look for an accident involving an overturned truck. But anyway, I haven't found that yet, and I think we're getting into the Alabama area. Traffic right now.
Thank you very much.
Keep up the good work.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. 70 WFLA.
Great song, Bob. All the memories it brings back.
Certainly is.
I'd just like to clarify something that's been bothering me for quite some time. The Blue Blazer sucks. Mr. Perfect rules, as evident at WrestleMania 5. Well, Mr. Perfect trampled all over the Blazer. So I just wanted to get that off my chest.
Okay.
Oh, and Mike? What?
It's all happening at the zoo. I do believe it. I do believe it's true. It's a light and tumble journey from the east side to the park.
Temple Terrace. Hi, Temple. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Afternoon, Bob.
Afternoon, Tim.
You do have a sexy voice.
Yes,
Say, is your wife listening?
Probably.
Could I maybe give her some advice?
Concerning?
Well, I was just going to tell her that it might be better if she maybe went back to Iowa for a week or so.
Mm-hmm.
about the workers, my perception of state workers is that they're lazy, incompetent, corrupt, unimaginative, and lacking in ambition.
Mm-hmm.
That's my perception.
Pretty much across the board?
Well, obviously, you can't really brand an entire class of people like that, but I think statistically you're more likely to find those traits among government workers, really all government workers, not just the state.
Mm-hmm.
I think those jobs attract that type of, or those types of personality traits where job security is really the main thing that they're looking for.
You don't think most people are interested in job security?
Well, I think that most people are interested in job security, but I don't think that it's necessarily paramount. I think that many people are more interested in spreading their wings and seeing how high they can fly, where this type of bureaucratic mentality, it's really the number one concern.
You honestly believe most workers are quote-unquote interested in spreading their wings and seeing how high they can fly? Are you serious?
Well, I would, in my experience, most people that are out there in the civilian quote-unquote workforce tend to be people who are looking to climb a ladder. They're not looking to find a little niche and curl up in there and be protected from the real world. And I think that bureaucratic government-type people tend to be that way. That's my experience. You asked for my perception, and I gave it to you.
You don't really believe that most people in the workplace, while perhaps interested in climbing the ladder, don't want somebody, holding a life net right underneath them.
Pardon me? Holding a
life net.
I just don't think to the extent that you find in the government service, in the civil service. I think that people out there in the civilian workforce are looking to advance, and the people in the government are more interested in not rocking the boat and putting their time in, doing as little as they really need to do in order to get by. They know they're locked into a rigid system as far as pay is concerned, and
you don't think most people who work in the private sector are not locked into a rigid pay scale?
They really don't have necessarily a rigid pay scale. I think
damn few people, sir, are really promoted from the mailroom to the boardroom.
Well, true, that type of increment, but I think that raises are available to most people where they're not available to government people.
Damn few people are promoted from the secretarial pool to the sales staff.
Well, that may be or may not be. I guess I'm not that familiar with that line of work, but my impression of the government people, they tend to be a lot like the people who were in the service, and I was in the service, so I saw it firsthand. I saw it all the time. They knew they were going to make X dollars regardless of what they did. They didn't want to rock the boat because they didn't want to lose that security, and they tended to do as little as they could to get by.
I thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. Don Richards standing by at the WFLA News Desk.
Time offer for qualified buyers on selected models at participating dealers.
So if you guys want to call on topic, great. If you don't want to call on topic, don't worry about it. However, we have just discovered something. I did not realize I could pop this up in the studio. A lot of people have asked, what's that little voice in the background sometimes on Gary McHenry's traffic reports? Well, Gary does reports at, the top of the hour, 10 after, 20 after, 30 after, 40, 50. Gary has no traffic reports scheduled at this time. So Gary is just kind of being Gary. And I think we can explain a lot of things to you people by pushing this little button.
Gary, could I hold your microphone? Do you like when I hold your microphone, Gary?
kind of, I guess, actually, it doesn't need any explanation. Let's go to Tampa. Hi, Tampa. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
What am I, some kind of chopped liver out here?
Whoa!
What am I, chopped liver?
Whoa,
You have a college show taking nominations of all types of college, best college, worst college, and I don't get a single vote. You know, I'll tell you something, Bob, and your audience. I come down there on Fridays of a volunteer time. I lie to my boss, come down from work, take money out of my family's mouth to entertain your audience.
Wait a second.
And give up any hope of a reputable position in any kind of radio business.
Your boss, you're talking about the guy that drives that big flashy Cadillac and wears the fur hat?
And what do I get in return? I don't get a single vote for best or worst caller. Am I chopped liver or what, Bob?
I don't know. Are you chopped liver?
I'm upset, I'm mad, and quite frankly, I'm a little bit disappointed with that audience, Bob.
Well, I can't speak for the other audience.
I did not get one single vote?
Well, I understand that there were several people down at a gym somewhere in Ybor City that voted for you.
That's part of my fan club, Bob.
Your fan
club. See you there later?
At the gym? No, Fez. No, I'm sorry. I'm going out with Gary McHenry for dinner tonight.
Well, Gary and I had a date for this evening.
Oh, come on, Fez.
Is he standing me up again?
You're not a fox. You're a Fez.
Is he
McHenry is a fox fetcher, not a Fez fetcher.
Is he standing me up again?
You, Fez, I'm not going to put up with your trying to raise questions about Mr. McHenry's masculinity.
Our relationship may be in trouble, me and Gary. Is Gary there? Gary?
No, Gary's not here. Gary's in the airplane.
Situation, Bob. I'm very upset. I take time away from my work day to come down there and have to sit close to you, which I quite frankly enjoy. And your audience doesn't recognize me in any fashion. I'm not chopped liver here. I am not chopped liver.
Well, then what are you, Fez?
Sometimes, Bob, I'm not even sure myself.
Perhaps a stuffed sausage?
Possibly. Toodles.
Toodles. The windows inside and out. Iron my underwear. Darn some. Oh, hi. Welcome back. 12 minutes after the hour of 5 o'clock. Damn, we're having a really good time here this afternoon. We're enjoying ourselves like you can't believe. And we really and truly are. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. I'll bet you're wondering what the topic is this afternoon, aren't you? Hey, you got a lot of company. Almost everybody that called up in the first 2 hours was doing the same thing. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. St. Petersburg. Hi, Saints. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
At the risk of sounding serious here, I just wanted to answer your question. And my perception of state workers is that
the
angle is not
in Pinellas. By the way, don't forget, you know, it's not open phones, but it certainly is. It's not limited. I mean, in the first hour, we had a guy who, of course, wanted me to apologize to all Arab Americans. And in the second hour, we had somebody who was trying to impress us, even while trying to stay on topic with his knowledge of the various different counties in the state. And, hey, you know, we've just got 3 hours to fill. Okay, Pinellas Park, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Yes, Robert, I was hoping you could help me out. Seeing how you've turned over a new leaf, and you were maybe not well-liked, but you had a very popular show, I was wondering maybe you could help me out and become the next Bob Lassiter and take over Ted Webb's spot, because he shouldn't be doing 2 shows. And I think I could be obnoxious and mean to people, you know, and call them names. I'm pretty good at it now when I get in arguments with people, you know. Get away from me, you jerk, I don't want to hear anymore, and I hang up. Call them a couple of names and just go on.
Well, first of all, there are 2 things that you seem to be lacking.
What's that, sir?
Originality and a voice. Lake Wales, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The problem I see with... well, anyway, let me say this. The past 3 persons that called you were right in their position on what the state employees do. What I see is a lot of milking the job. They don't, and the higher-ups in there do not obey the Constitution of the United States. I think that's clear in your mind.
The state employees do not obey the Constitution.
Well, the bosses, to take your agricultural commissioner, he's above the Constitution of the United States, or he's trying to put himself up above the Constitution of the United States. I think that's clear what has been happening.
Well, it may be clear to you, sir, but perhaps for the rest of us, you care to elaborate a tad.
Well, when the Supreme Court ordered him to pay the duty, to pay the bill, there's interest involved in this thing. That is, what I'm talking about, interest, cash interest involved in this. If you don't pay a bill right away, well, then you got 6% or whatever it is that the federal government imposes.
Only if you have agreed beforehand to pay interest.
Pardon?
Only if you have agreed beforehand to pay interest.
Well, anyway, the guy was wrong to begin with. Was doing a lot of wrong to begin with. He thought he was above the law, and then the way he talked to the farmers or the growers rather about this particular problem. Now, another problem. I turned this organization in. That's the University of Florida for contaminating the green swamp aquifer by dumping toxic materials in there. I turned them in several years ago to the EPA, and they were working on it. They didn't like that, but what I seen going on over there, I think was a terrible thing. When you start dumping permanent toxic chemicals like arsenic, copper sulfate, and things in the aquifer.
So let me see, if, for the purposes of my speech that I have to give, if I can wrap this up into kind of one little ball of wax.
Pardon?
You basically perceive state employees as going around.
Well, they're milking the job, but that's the thing is, and then there is a pecking order that is bad. I'd rather work for any.
Unfortunately, we don't really have time to go through that pecking order. But my goodness, have a good day, and thank you ever so much for calling. How is it that I knew? I just knew. I guess that's why I'm the magnificent Lassiter, because the beginning part of the call when he said, can you hear me? Are you having any problem with that? And I said no, but we might towards the end. Okay, time to go to Gary McHenry with a WFLA airborne traffic report. Okay, Gar. Come in, Gar.
El nombre de chocolate viene del idioma choco, que significa sonido, ruido, y Apple, que quiere decir agua.
Unbelievable. What the hell is going on here?
Hi, Bob.
McHenry, are you sniffing airplane glue or something?
What do you think holds this thing together?
I wouldn't want to begin to speculate, at least on my shift.
That sounded like interplanetary communication, didn't it? And you didn't think I knew a second language.
Well, it sounded like something, Gar. Who was that little person in there in the plane with you?
I have no idea.
No idea. How did you bother to ask her name yet?
No idea whatsoever.
Okay, you have checked ID, right?
Would you leave my leg? I'm sorry. Hello, Bob?
Yes.
I've checked what?
Have you checked ID?
No. I haven't checked out much of anything yet.
Okay, I've heard many of your reports. Airborne traffic, dangerous airborne traffic with the bronze Garrow McHenry.
Much more dangerous. Yeah. If you're...
No. None of that kind of blowing away at all. Go in there and tell the boss that you want to reduce insurance premiums, that you'd like to decrease absenteeism in the workplace, that you'd like to enhance productivity, improve morale, reduce disabilities, and decrease overall turnover. Just walk right into the office and say, boss, these are the things I want to do. He's going to jump up on his desk. He's going to start hollering, hooray, hooray, at last, at last. But tell me, how are we going to do this? Well, why don't you suggest that he invite Dr. Sobel in to conduct a stop smoking course? Because that's what's going to happen. If you can get more and more and more people in your workplace to finally give up on those miserable cigarettes. Dr. Sobel, the man who put together the course that's called Quit for Life. Excuse me. Getting some water here. Ah, there we go. I don't blame you for not holding on for 15 and a half minutes. I wouldn't hold on either. But we're having a grand old time here. We lost control of the show somewhere about 2:30 this afternoon. But nonetheless, we have really enjoyed ourselves here. Let me give you the telephone numbers, 461-9352, 461-WFLA, obviously drop-off city during that last break. Indian Rocks. Hi, Indian. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah.
What'd you do, take lessons on how to bore us to death from Liz Richards?
No, I didn't.
I mean, come on.
Come on what?
Get on with some shows, huh?
Well, why don't you...
Well, you can't write your own material for a speech?
No, I can't.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Oh, come on now. You never thought in your life. Don't try to fib, fibber. Well, let's go to the Green Swamp. Green, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Bobby. I just wanted to say that state workers are no different than anyone else. I work in an industry that's, I'd be afraid.
Things like placing the plants on a windowsill. I mean, there's no symmetry. They're just, there. Because the people who run the hotel just aren't really suited, I guess, for running hotels. Other than that, the place is clean. The doors were oiled. The food was not contaminated. It just lacked all that extra little attention. And that was kind of sad because it's a treasure. What a great hotel. Fantastic place.
And if I know you, you did tell them, didn't you?
No, of course not. No, you don't know me. You see, so you come to me and asked, I would have told them. I'm a very quiet man.
Well, I know you're quiet.
I sat in the lobby playing Mastermind with my wife, and drinking a lot of water because the water's great.
God. Bob, do me one favor.
What's that?
Please don't be hard on your wife on account of this, please.
You should see the list of chores that woman's going to do tomorrow. Unbelievable. I will... She has to be severely punished for this.
Okay, if that's the way you want to be about it.
That's the way it has to be. She's going to have to wash the car, too.
Bob.
Take care.
Have a good day.
Don Richards standing by WFLA.
Hello, Bobby.
Yeah.
How you doing, bud? Oh,
fine, thank you.
I'm listening to your new show today.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty different.
It is?
Well, you've been changing a little on us. It's a pretty good show.
Not particularly. Pretty good show, huh?
Yesterday was a good show. I wanted to tell you I didn't get in. Your greatest show I ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
You might be interested. Nobody has mentioned it ever. It was about last summer. It was soon after you came to FLA in the afternoon when you were on 12 to 3, the Praise Lassiter show.
Uh-huh. Yes, well, that's probably my favorite, yes.
It was truly a great show.
Well, thank you.
One of the best.
Thank you. Glad you enjoyed it. Clearwater, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Bob, Don the crane operator here.
Hey, Don. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, the shoulder's bothering me, Don. I woke up with it again this morning. I don't know what it is. It really just been feeling fine for a couple of weeks, and then...
About the state workers?
If you can do it in 10 seconds.
Okay, Bob, I tell you, I think they're lazy, and because they got to wait on other people, they could care less about their jobs, because all they're thinking about is themselves.
All right, thank you, Don.
Okay, Bob.